Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. I went into Olympic National Forest because I wanted quiet. Real quiet. The kind you don't get near towns or campgrounds with bare boxes and posted rules. I parked off a service road and hiked about 3 miles in, far enough that anyone out there would have to want to be there. The forest felt old in that part of Washington. Trees packed tight, their tops knitting together, so the sky was just a thin gray ribbon overhead. The ground stayed damp, even without rain, like it remembered every storm it had ever swallowed. I set up camp before sunset. Small fire. One-man tent. No signal. Perfect. The first few hours were fine. Peaceful even. Too peaceful, if I'm being honest. The woods didn't sound alive the way they should. No owls. No insects. Just my fire popping now and then, like it was nervous to make noise. Around 11 p.m., I heard footsteps behind me. Not light steps. Not a deer or raccoon. These were heavy, deliberate, boots sinking into wet soil. One step, then another. Slow, patient. I froze. I waited for them to pass. They didn't. I turned around. Nothing. Just trees and darkness pressed, so thick it felt solid. And the second I turned, the footsteps stopped. The silence that followed was wrong. Not peaceful, empty, like someone had sucked the air out of the forest. Even my fire seemed quieter, the flames shrinking like they were afraid. I told myself it was an elk, or maybe my nerves finally snapping after a long hike and too much quiet. I sat back down, poked the fire, tried to breathe normally. The footsteps started again. Same pace, same weight, same distance behind me. I turned again. They stopped. This happened 4 times. By the fourth, my skin felt tight, like it didn't fit anymore. I stood up and shouted, "Hello." My voice didn't carry. It just fell into the trees and disappeared. That's when I heard something worse. My own footsteps. I took a step forward. Behind me, step. I stopped. Behind me, stop. The timing was off. Just a fraction late. Like hearing yourself on a bad phone connection. Close enough to be familiar. Wrong enough to make your stomach twist. I backed toward my tent, never turning around now. I didn't want to see whatever was learning me. When I reached the tent, I dove inside and zipped it shut so fast my fingers burned. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might give me away. The footsteps circled the tent. Not pacing, not wandering, inspecting. Slow steps, careful ones, like something studying a problem. They stopped near my head. I stared at the tent wall, every muscle locked. A shadow pressed against the fabric. Too tall, too thin. The proportions wrong in a way I can't explain without sounding crazy. Then it leaned closer. So close I felt warmth through the nylon. And right next to my ear, it whispered in a voice that sounded almost human. "You hear it too." I didn't scream. I couldn't. My body refused to do anything but shake. The footsteps moved away after that. Not retreating, just done. I stayed awake until dawn, watching the tent walls, waiting for the zipper to move. When sunlight finally bled through the trees, I crawled out. There were no footprints around my campsite. No boot prints. No animal tracks. Nothing disturbed the damp soil at all, except my own footprints, circling the tent, stopping right where my head had been. Story 2. I camped to disappear for a while. No phone buzz, no voices, no expectations. Late October near Lake Superior is perfect for that. The cold keeps people away. The trees don't care who you are. The lake doesn't pretend to listen. I parked at a forgotten pull-off and hiked in with a single headlamp and a pack that felt heavier than it should have. The sky was low and gray, like it was pressing down on the world. I found a small clearing not marked on any map. No fire ring, no trash, just pine needles and a view of the water through the trees. That kind of quiet feels earned. By 10, the temperature dropped hard. My breath came out thick and white. I built a small fire, ate from a dented pot, and crawled into my tent early. The lake made that slow, hollow sound waves make at night, like something breathing in its sleep. I was halfway between awake and gone when I heard it. Mark, my name. Calm, close, like someone standing just outside the tent. I sat straight up, heart banging. I didn't answer at first. I held my breath and listened. The lake kept breathing. The trees creaked. Nothing else. Then again, Mark, clear as day. No one knew I was there. I hadn't told anyone. I hadn't checked in anywhere. That was the point. I unzipped the tent an inch and whispered, "Hello." From the dark near the tree line came the reply, "Hello." Same pitch. Same pause at the end. Same me. A nervous laugh slipped out before I could stop it. Lack of sleep. Cold brain. That's what I told myself. Sound carries weird over water. I said, louder this time, "Is anyone there?" The woods answered, "Is anyone there?" Perfect. Even the little hitch in my voice I've had since I was a kid. My stomach tightened. I zipped the tent shut and lay flat, staring at the fabric inches from my face. I counted my breaths. In, out, slow. I told myself not to be stupid. Don't feed it, whatever it is. Then the voice spoke again. Not copying, just talking. "You left the fire on." I hadn't. I was sure I hadn't. I could still smell smoke, though. Stronger now. Thick. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped out. The fire was roaring. Logs stacked higher than I'd left them, glowing like they'd just been placed. Sparks climbed into the dark. On the far side of the fire sat something low and wrong, like a person crouched but bent the wrong way. The light didn't touch it right. It felt unfinished. It leaned forward. In my voice it said, "You answer too easily." The fire went out in an instant. Not fading, not dying, just gone. Darkness rushed in so fast it felt physical. I ran. I didn't pack. I didn't look back. Branches whipped my face. Roots grabbed my boots. Behind me, I heard my footsteps, but there were too many. A half second late, like an echo that didn't belong. "Mark," it called farther back now. Tired. Hurt. Wait. I didn't stop until I saw my car through the trees. Dawn was breaking, pale and weak. I locked myself inside and sat there shaking until I could breathe again. When I finally looked at my phone, I had one voicemail, time-stamped at 3:17 a.m., from my own number. I didn't play it right away. I knew I shouldn't. I played it anyway. At first there was nothing, then slow breathing. Calm. Familiar. At the very end, my voice whispered, "Next time, don't answer." Story 3. I spent a lot of time alone outdoors. That's not a flex. It's just cheaper than therapy and quieter than people. I hike BLM land because it's wide, empty, and mostly ignored. Utah especially. Miles of nothing. No crowds. No cell signal. Just rock, scrub, and sky that feels way too big for comfort once the sun goes down. This trip was supposed to be simple. 3 days. One old trail I downloaded offline. In and out. I triple-checked maps before leaving. Gaia. All trails. Old USGS PDFs. I'm obsessive like that. I don't like surprises in the desert. The first day went fine. Hot, dry, quiet. The kind of quiet where your own footsteps start sounding wrong. I camped near a dry wash and slept light. The second afternoon, the weather turned fast. No slow build. No warning. 1 minute it was windy. The next the sky went dark like someone flipped a switch. Rain came down hard and cold. Not normal rain. Freezing needles that soaked straight through my jacket. The wind shoved me sideways. I knew hypothermia was a real risk, even in the desert. So when I saw lights ahead, I felt relief before I felt confusion. It was a ranger station, not a ruin, not a shack, a real building. Windows glowing warm yellow. A metal sign by the door. Ranger station. My stomach tightened. I knew this area. I knew there wasn't a station here. But I was shaking, my hands numb, and logic gets real flexible when your teeth start chattering. I knocked. No answer. The door was unlocked. Inside was warm. Too warm. Like walking into a house that's been lived in, not a public building left empty. The heater hummed low and steady, like it had been running for years without stopping. There was no ranger. No coats, no boots, no coffee mug, no radio chatter, just a desk, a chair, and a thick logbook sitting open like someone had just stepped away. I dropped my pack and stood there dripping on the floor, listening. The storm outside faded fast, like it had passed around the building instead of over it. I picked up the logbook. The last entry was dated 1997. That alone was wrong. But then I flipped back a few pages, and a few more. Same handwriting, over and over. Same phrases, written neat and careful, like a child practicing letters. Camper arrived late. Camper stayed the night. Camper didn't leave. The names, that's what really got to me. It was the same 5 or 6 names repeating for decades. Same order, same spelling, no aging, no changes, just looping again and again. My head started to swim. I told myself it was exhaustion, cold, adrenaline crash. I leaned on the desk to steady myself. That's when the door behind me clicked shut, not slammed. Not dramatic, just a soft, polite click. A voice came from the hallway behind the desk. Calm, friendly, almost kind. You can rest here. Every hair on my arm stood up. The voice sounded wrong. Not distorted, not evil. Just empty, like it didn't need lungs. I turned slowly. On the wall behind me, carved deep into the wood, was my name. Not scratched, not sloppy, carefully carved, letters clean and straight. Under it, in smaller writing, arrived late. I don't remember deciding to run. My body just did it. I grabbed my pack and slammed through a back door I hadn't noticed before. Cold air hit me like a slap. I ran into darkness, tripping over rocks, lungs burning, heart hammering like it wanted out. I didn't stop until I collapsed behind a ridge and threw up. I didn't sleep that night. I huddled under a rock shelf until morning, watching the horizon like something might walk out of it. At sunrise, I went back. There was nothing there. No building, no trail, no footprints. Just empty desert and a half-buried metal sign, rusted and bent. Ranger Station, closed permanently. I left the area shaking and didn't stop hiking until my GPS finally caught a signal. Later, back home, I opened my offline map to delete the trail. There was a new waypoint I didn't add, labeled Rest Area. I deleted it. It came back. Now, every time I download offline maps, different states, different trips, I find it again. Always somewhere remote. Always off the trail. Always waiting. I don't camp alone anymore. And I never arrive late.